and civilian leaders agreed to cohabit in a transitional government, fulfilling a central demand of the protesters who had overthrown the 30-year dictatorship of President Umar al-Bashir. A top priority was ending the wars that had long ravaged Sudan's peripheries. The rebels were confident that those in the civilian cabinet, led by Prime Minister Abdullah Hamok, were sincere. Lieutenant General Mohammed Hafdan Dalobo, known as Hemeti, is the commander of the Rapid Support Forces, which grew out of the Janjaweed militia accused of carrying out atrocities in Darfur. They did not trust the generals, especially Lieutenant General Mohammed, whose paramilitaries were waged terrifying counter-insurgency campaigns.
Yet why some so daily graphic the Bokrat and fa tosu enum honum their way inside Africa and send and pay the mindset of the whites ne woman ekatafa asumdwe peace no sanso na Sudan na okopim on the ne de wom de enema egugu akwama trese wom asensan krata send e beye na asumdwe friends asumdwe no ebi ebetumi akoso e so hwe ntokwa ne ade ya ekoso na ema nipa pempem na etoa nananom ewo nse do eno na koba ne sa na akwakọ ibio ni senti no ewo mo ebom homodin ye papapo mu kirem de a ade a enema bi sesi a enkoye kura impo osana abusumi no August busumi ne da ewo afimpimu ene chese dunkrum no na so Sudanese military no na afa civilian empanimfo na ade a wo mpie mo hono na aban so insakraye mu ebaaye ede ntokwa bebiri na ebaaye senti na bibia mo hwese eba ne se asumdwe kwanso de bibia ebetumi akoso wo hono motote.
Still on Inside Africa, COVID-19, Liberia's head of health institute sacked. Liberia's President George Weah has sacked the head of the National Public Health Institute, Mosoka Fala, who has been suspended after an investigation into his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. His dismissal was recommended by a committee. He had served in the position for less than 4 months. Dr. Fala has not commented on his sacking. He was suspended in August for what the president's office termed as ethical, professional, and administrative lapses, as well as breach in the health and administrative protocols regarding to the insurance of COVID-19 test results. Liberia has so far confirmed 1,311 cases, 1,194 recoveries, and 82 deaths since the virus was first reported in the country in March.
So ewo daily graphic kwakata mu dia na chese ne fa etoso enum na na yigusu ejina na we COVID-19 ho sese okopiem ewo Liberia wo mo mampani George yade a wono no wo hwe ni se ne enema ekoso wo ho no COVID-19 we mu dia na chese ehuhia se ba ne se National Public Health Institute na peni a odoma no na ehuhia se otumi etu ade so yesi o hwese ne awo toto ne ma na se hyehye eni ade egu akwam COVID-19 man ho ne so na ebosome enan intemi se ne enema ekọ ho no ade a enhyehye ne ade egu akwam se ne be ne di kuatia COVID-19 yare no enkoso saa emfa emma omanfo mo Liberia no ene nam so ama we nyina esie ni senti COVID-19 yare no fa akopim ewo Liberia de a chese cases a wo mu enya wo ho no apem ahasa ene chese du baako afenso wo mu a wo mu enya ayarsan apem oha ene ediokron ennan wo mu a omato anananom ewo nse don ediowotwe mienu eno ene nsem a chese epiem ewo de bokrata mu ne fa etoso enu.
Still on page. The Agyeiwaa MP for Asin Central constituency. Na eno no or the apology letter pa and ama Honorable Chief Justice, Judges and Magistrates Association of Ghana. The letter ebini addressed to the Honorable Chief Justice and the Judicial Service Accra. Apology to the Honorable Chief Justice, Judges and Magistrates Association of Ghana. I am writing this apology letter in my capacity as Ghanaian and a member of Parliament for the Asin Central constituency in the Central Region of the Republic of Ghana. Respectively, I have been sued as a defendant in the case titled Emmanuel Mumpi and 2 ORS versus Honorable Kennedy Ohene Agyeiwaa, suit number LD 1028 2020. Subsequent to the suit, an order was made against me without my knowledge, which made me very furious and angry, thus causing me to express my dismay and anger towards the court's order on a live television program called The Seat on Net2 television on the second day of September 2020. However, Upon, so- upon sober reflection, I have come to the realization that, without prejudice to the substantive case, my expression about the court's opinion was harsh. Thus, I find it necessary to render unqualified apology without any reservation whatsoever to the Honorable Chief Justice, judges, and magistrates, and any individual who have been offended by my uncomplimentary comments. Thus, prior to the publication of this letter, I have appeared on the same platform on the 7th day of September 2020 and rendered same apology to the Honorable Chief Justice, judges, and magistrates. I must conclude that I strongly believe in our judicial system and can never disintegrate its integrity. Indeed, I was set free by the court when I was charged with treason in 2012. Thank you. Yours faithfully, Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ejapong, MP Asin Central, copied to Justice Frank Abwache Roxon.
Honorable,
Yeah,
honorable.
yeah,
Akompreko, we what into Munkrata, 10 Nina, Chelpa, and Odiakoma, Ghana, Chief Justice, Offensive Judges, and a Magistrate Association of Ghana, what the Chelpa, Ediamo Nipa, for Monono, one pese, Basabasibia, ever.
Now it was so our page 7 of the Daily Graphic na editorial no say EC deserves commendation. Ghana's 1992 constitution contains many provisions aimed at facilitating democratic elections, and the implementation of those provisions have contributed in no small measure to the country's achievements in the democratic space thus far. And this is why the Electoral Commission, as the principal organ for the administration of elections in Ghana, can share in the credit of the success so achieved far. This is because the preparation for the conduct of election were carried out by the EC, which is established and defined by Articles 43 to 46 of the Constitution. Its role is further fleshed out in the Electoral Commission Act of 1993. Article 46 holds that the Commission is not subject to any authority its performing its functions, while Article 45 outlines those functions which include the compilation and revision of the electoral register, demarcation and revision of electoral boundaries, conduct and supervision of public elections and referenda, education of citizens on the electoral process, and others such functions may be prescribed by law. We are happy that the EC has so far resisted undue pressure and is acquitting itself very well. Between Friday, September 18 to 25 this year, it is carrying out another important exercise, the exhibition of the voters' register, for the final opportunity for the 16.6 million registered voters to authenticate their personal information as well as confirm if their names are on the register. We implore all registered voters to take this exhibition exercise seriously. Outlook and so our page 9. Fire destroys Greek camp, leaving 13,000 without shelter. Fires have destroyed Greece's largest migrant camp, an overcrowded facility on the island of Lesbos, leaving nearly 13,000 people without shelter. Some 40 firefighters battled the blaze at the Moira camp, designed for fewer than 3,000 people, as migrants, mainly suffering from smoke exposure, fled. It is unclear how the fires began, with some blaming the migrants and others blaming the Greek locals. Many attempted to carry their belongings to the port town of Mytilene, but access was cordoned off. EU Home Affairs Commissioner Yala Johnson said she had agreed to finance the transfer of 400 unaccompanied teenagers and children to accommodation on the mainland. Fire broke out in more than 3 places in the short space of time, local fire chief Theophilus told state television channel. The main blaze, which was initially fanned by high winds, was put out by Wednesday morning, although Mr. Theophilus said there were still some small fire burnings inside some containers at the site. Some locals reportedly attacked and prevented migrants from passing through a nearby village after they fled the flames. Authorities placed the Mora camp and the quarantine last week after Somali migrants tested positive for the coronavirus. There are now 35 confirmed cases linked to the site.
Yɛto aso ɛwɔ krataa ne fa ɛtɔ so nkoro no deɛ a wei no egya paa ha egya ɛna ato ɛyɛ Greek camp hɔ nom a ɛnam so ama nipa kyɛ sɛ mpem du-mmiɛnsa ɛna wɔn mu enya baabi ɛnna so ɔhwɛ sɛnea amanfoɔ agyapadeɛ ne ade ahye deɛ nkyɛ sɛ wɔn mma ne abusua nyinaa baabi a wɔn de wɔn ti ɛbɛto ɛho ayɛ den ama wɔn yie papaapa ɛnam so ɛma commissioner ha ɛyɛ EU Home Affairs Commissioner wɔbɔ ne ho mmɔden bia sɛ ɛbɛyɛ na wɔbɛboa na wɔn a wɔn mu nya baabi ɛmfa wɔn ti ɛnto ne ade na ɛba ne sɛ mmabunu ɛna mpɔmɔfra ne ade nyinaa wɔn bɛtumi aboa na wɔn ayɛ biribi ɛde afa ho ɛde ama wɔn saa nso na wɔn to aso na wɔn twɛm sɛ ɛba ne sɛ COVID-19 yareɛ na hɔnom nso ɛha wɔn adwene yie papaapa cases no ebi abɛka ho akyɛ sɛ wɔn confirm cases no kyɛsia no ɛduru 30
Near Twasun, so page 13. Female genital schistosomiasis, women exposed to health risks. For women and girls who live in communities that depend on open surface water sources for their domestic needs, engaging in simple tasks such as fetching water or washing clothes by the riverside can lead to great health consequences. Indeed, in this country, those who live in rural environments and underdeveloped urban areas without adequate water, where communities rely on rivers, streams, and lakes for work or daily chores, face the risk of schistosomiasis infection. Schistosomiasis, also known as snail fever or bilharzia, is a parasite disease that is prevalent in communities without access to potable water or adequate sanitation. All demographical groups, irrespective of age or gender, without unsafe water contact are at risk of infection. However, key gender roles of women and girls within the household, including chores such as washing of clothes, dishes, and collecting water for household consumption, place them in almost continual contact with water and puts them at risk.
Gender krataa ne fa ɛtɔ so du-mmiɛnsa no yɛhwɛ nsuo ɛda hɔ akyɛ sɛ mmɔfra egu mu a wɔn mu dwane ade no wei no nyinaa no ɛde nsunsuansoɔ ba a ɛyɛ yare ne ade afei nso yɛhwɛ ɛma ɛba nkyɛn female genital mutilation ɛyɛ adeɛ no nso ɛha adwene yie papaapa mpɛn pii no ɛde nsunsuansoɔ bebree na ɛna enya ɛwɔ mmaa so a ɛno no ɛyɛ a na ɛntwa yie koraa yɛde wei no esi wɔ ha sɛ na kyerɛ sɛ ama yɛnto aso wɔ back page no ne yɛn ho so nkɔ saa.
Now, it was also the back page daily graphic, and also Grid co-working to resolve power outages. Ghana Grid Company Limited, main electricity transmission company in the country, has given an assurance that it is taking immediate steps to resolve the challenges its plants are facing, which have resulted in power outages in recent times. It said its plants in the western and eastern regions have suffered problems with some key transmission lines and that it is working to provide solutions to address the setbacks. In a statement signed by its chief executive officer, Mr. Jonathan Amwakuba, to explain the situation, Gridco blamed the snapping of its Tafo to Akwetia transmission lines to the activities of Galamsey operators and truckload with charcoal. In addition, the statement said in recent times the 30 kV thermal substation in Takrady has suffered system disturbance due to its closeness to the sea as excessive early morning salt dew deposits on its post insulators. The phenomenon, it said, caused the flashover triggering cascading tipping of the 330 kV line circuit.
Yeah, the back page of the daily graphic, the Bokrata and the Ghana Great Company Limited, a group for one in some about the Tuja, Neban say, Yiram Kania near the woman ECG for one more, and my BPA 18 echo stores, and a day, woman she say, welcome, send a bear, and a doom son, and the way you do better for any, I don't know. Hani na etu ebetwa no na ec for ECG Electricity Company of Ghana wo mo so den se matudwa wo mo kire se empempi na manfo tai frɛ mo pa wo maso tumi yɛhye na abepie mu obɛkyɛ sɛ mempotem ha sɛ dia yenya nkane abɛyɛ na miensa na mienu ni ade yɛ no no ha wo so yie papa ne sense no wo mgidi yie sɛ gikofo hyehyɛ bi om digu akom na bɛboa na kyɛ sɛ saa yɛdu meka ne ade de bia ne yɛ frɛfrɛ bo amane ne ade ne nyinaa ɛto atumi atwa
na wa den nsɛm apie mu ɛwɔ daily graphic ne nyinaa akɔ na wie na mesanka wo sis following wɔ social media platforms na Facebook and Instagram, MHTV, YouTube, and Twitter, so no Mabling House. Let me tell you, your global sky security. Someone is always watching, and our faces in GH schools. I feel ever and someone saw a PM with our Ghanaian Times, Mulea de Penson Pensamono, at Wasota Pepe. Now, yes, shall say our Ghanaian Times, Mulea, but shall say page 3 of the Ghanaian Times. Two granted 1.6 million Ghana cedi bail for allegedly stealing 100 kg of gold. Two persons, including a Burkinabe, were yesterday granted 1.6 million Ghana cedis bail for allegedly conspiring to steal 100 kg of gold valued $5.8 million. Per the bail condition, each of them is to produce two sureties whose net worth salary should not be less than 1,000 Ghana cedis. Said Owusu al-Bashiru, the Burkinabe, would appear again on October 7. This was after their counsel, Mr. George Asmani, argued that his clients had persons of substance to stand as sureties and that they would avail themselves in court. Abubakar Sadiq, an accomplice, is currently at large. The prosecutor, Assistant Superintendent of Police Sylvester Asari, told the court presided over by Justice Emmanuel Esando, a High Court judge sitting with additional responsibility as a circuit court judge, that the accused stole the gold belonging to one Raymond Texan Kobina, a businessman. He said Sadiq, who was an employee of Kobina, conspired with Owusu and Pafadam to steal the 100 kg of gold and subsequently caused a company called Tech Ghana Limited to ship 5 kg valued $290,000, equivalent to 1,595,000 Ghana cedis, to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates.
Sana etwa so ede amam ye hye no ase de na ye hye ase fi ne fa etoso miensa no kwofo mienu bi wo mo de omo beyire wo mo ho no obi sika kokko na wo mo ekotebrim ye ne police for ekire wo nanso ya grant omo bail na bill na ya grant omo no 1.6 million Ghana cedis se wo hwe gold a wo mo etebrim ye na ano eye de ye papa 100 kg na wo mu etebrim ya chese ye kire wo no na o mu tebrim ye no na wo mu de company ba ko efre no Tech Ghana Limited wo mu emom chese 5 kg so mo shefo no de ko chese dollar siken mu de $290,000 dollars anso na Ghana cedi num no 1,595,000 Ghana cedis a chese wo mu de ko Dubai United Arab Emirates no mo so komunsa aka twitwu die bi ne yensa eso mu nsenti no ensem ne de omo de omo granche omo bill de na so nya de a omo jai echirisa.
While a man jailed 10 years for robbery. A man who robbed 2 women within 2 hours, was on Monday sentenced by a circuit court in Accra to 10 years in prison in hard labor. Prosper Joka, unemployed, was convicted on his old plea of guilty when he appeared on July 16, but sentencing was deferred to September 7. The prosecutor, Chief Inspector Eric Pobby, told the court presided over by Justice Emmanuel Sando, a High Court judge sitting with additional responsibility as a circuit court judge, that the convict robbed Gladys Ashi, a waitress, of her bag containing a Samsung mobile phone, 70 Ghana cedis, voters' identification cards, and other valuables. He said the convict threatened Ashi with a knife when she got off a bus at about 11:45 p.m. on Monday, on July 9, 2020, and took to his heels. He said Joker put the Samsung mobile phone in his pocket and hid the bag containing the items under a container shop. Chief Inspector Poby said a couple of hours later, the convict went to the Teshie Trinity School Junction, a suburb in Accra, and attacked another lady. The court held that luck ran out for the convict as Sergeant Emmanuel Odro, a policeman, appeared on the scene and arrested the convict, and upon interrogation, Chief Inspector Poby said the voter's ID of Miss Ashi was disclosed.
ɛtɔ so mmiɛnsa hɔ nom ade a wohwɛ aseɛ hɔ nom na aberante dwo kanimfoni ɛda ha sei na chief yɛde ba bɛsɔ mu a yɛkyerɛ mu sɛ saa aberante wei wɔ no ɔkɔkɔgye maame bi ɛfon akyerɛ sɛ ne sika a ɛnyɛ asɛm ketewa ɔgye ne baag ne no ɛnenam so ma polisifoɔ nsa ɛsuo no na sɛsi adeɛ court abua no a wɔkɔ akɔtwere mu mfie edu na ɔde ayɛ adwumaden ɛde ama ɔman Ghana sɛnea ɛbɛyɛ na Ghanafoɔ wo a ɛwɔ otiri mu anaasɛ wɔyɛ saa de bɔne wie bi bia wɔn nso wodi ebetu wo ho fo.
It was Ghanaian Times, and so our page 4, a well-deserved praise. The Ghanaian Times yesterday published on its front page a story that the government had commended Ghanaians, especially frontline health workers of the Ghana Health Service, for their commitment towards the fight against the novel coronavirus disease in the country, and that this must not pass without comment. According to the government, it was pleased with the commitment and sacrifice made by Ghanaians toward defeating the disease so far. At a press conference in Kumasi yesterday, the Minister for Information, Kodie Nkrumah, said the government was pleased with the roles the various stakeholders have played towards the eradication of the virus from the country. We recall that Ghana first recorded its index case of the virus on March 12, 2020, and subsequently, the government and stakeholders have followed it up with different measures to curtail its spread. Some of these stringent measures are closure of schools, ban on all social gathering, and a temporary lockdown with restrictions on movement of people in the Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi. It is important for the country to honor these courageous health workers and erect COVID-19 mementos in honor of the departed ones, so that we would never forget them. It is also crucial that while praising ourselves for our good fight and observing the continuous decline in active cases, we do not let our guard down, but continue to adhere strictly to the safety protocols of hand washing with soap and running water, sanitizing, and wearing of nose mask at all times.
Ono adwenkyerɛ ɛwɔ Ghanaian Times ɛbɔ krataa mu na we wɔde abasabɔdeɛ pa ɛkɔ ama Ghana ha sei wɔn a wɔyɛ adwuma ɛwɔ apɔmuden asoɛyɛ kyesa dɔkitafoɔ ne ade na Ghana Health Service foɔ sɛ wɔn abɔ mmɔden yie papaapa ɛba ne sɛ COVID-19 mu asan so ɛna ɔsoafoɔ hɔ yɛn amanebɔ nsɛm so Kodie Nkrumah abribia no wɔn no wɔbɛfrɛfrɛ ɔmanfoɔ ɛde press na ɔde nneɛma bi a egugu akwan mu a wɔn de tu dwa na ade na de akɔti yare na bribia wɔ ma ya sote ma yɛ nyinaa etumi abɔ yɛn ho mmɔden pa aba bi du saa pepe so dia na ɔka sɛ mpanimfoɔ ayɛ yie pa mpanimfoɔ ayɛ bi wɔn ayɛ ade ama ne nyinaa akɔ so tɔte di akɔ so a na kyɛ sɛ yare ndi ase entui korakora nti no ehyehyɛ bi egu akwan mu ya yɛ ni so yɛn horo yɛn nsa yɛn sanitize na yɛn mo ya no brezia papa na yɛn nyinaa yɛntumi nkuntia COVID-19 yare.
Yes, was me African news, and so our page 5. Tens of thousands of Sudanese wait for aid after Nile floods. Sudanese authorities and the United Nations are rolling out aid to tens of thousands who lost their homes in record Nile floods, but many of those camping out on roadside and higher grounds are despairing of when it will reach them. Sudanese government said it had allocated more than 150 Sudanese pounds, equivalent to $2.73 million, to help flood victims. The UN Refugee Agency said that with the help of the United Arab Emirates, it had flown 100 metric tons of relief material, including blankets, which will be distributed across 12 states. The flood have left at least 102 people dead in the country and destroyed or damaged tens of thousands of homes, according to the Interior Ministry. Authorities have declared a 3-month state of emergency. Standing by tents in South Khartoum, Idris Ahmed, who lost his home, said the government was not giving enough support.
Enum no kɔpem ɛwɔ Sudan deɛ nkyɛ sɛ nneɛma a ɛkɔ so ɛwɔ hɔnom no ɛne enyan papaapa ɛno no wohwɛ sɛ nea nsuo ɛtɔɔyɛ a ama bebree na mpo bea a wɔn de wɔn ti bɛto ne ade akɔ akɔyɛ nsɛm bebree na ɛno ɛnam so nso ma wɔn kyerɛm bia wɔn de hyehyɛ bia egu akɔyɛ sɛ saa nneɛma wɔ esi bia na ahote paa na ama ɛnyɛ Ghana nko ho na nsuo tɔ a na kyerɛ sɛ yɛn ho ɛkyerɛ sɛ ne nsuo tɔ ne ade na akɔ akɔyɛ nsɛm bebree ne ade ne ti sɛnea Ghana ha deɛ yɛ aka sɛ yɛn bebree na aka ho ɛdeɛ yɛtɔ wɔ bi a ɛnom yɛ a yɛgye ato hɔ nom yɛn nyinaa etwi yɛn ho fi hɔ ano a ɛbɛboa ɔpɛ sɛ ntwɛn fɛn kɔ so ne rɛ sɛ ɛkɔkɔkɔ yɛsɛ otu bɔ ban a ɛsan ba wo so ama.
Page 14 of the Ghanaian Times. Chiefs and people of 3 Achin states demonstrate against former President Mahama. Thousands of people, including chiefs from Achimbosme, Kotoku, and Ebuakwa traditional areas, have demonstrated here against the former President John Dramani Mahama for making tribal comments against the Achim. According to them, the former president has described them as Sakawa and made other derogatory comments about them. They describe such tribal comments as unfortunate and recipe for the destruction of peace and unity among tribes in the country, and hence called on for former President John Dramani Mahama to retract his statement within 72 hours or face the consequences.
Ghana ha sɛ deɛ nkyɛ sɛ nneɛma na ɛkɔ so wɔ hɔ no akyɛmfoɔ no wɔn ani abere yie papaapa sɛnea na mfonin no etwa gu no tum sɛ obi koraa te hwee mu o ɔka ho na ɔmo yɛ da mu no saa nti wohwɛ sɛnea mfonin ne video no etwa gu no deɛ kyerɛ sɛ amanfo ani abere yie papaapa kuro gyan yi sɛ etintim ɔmo ani hwɛ line a ɛnyɛ de ketewa na sɛ amakɛse kuro na akasa koraa no
Zenity, Kakakasia.
Just a coinum cra, and yɛ ma na deɛ wohwɛ deɛ ɔma trɔtrɔ gu so ekura mde a kyerɛ sɛ ɔmani abrɛ ɛyɛ ntie deɛ ɛkɔ so na nso bi
mansa mɛka kyerɛ sɛ ɔmo yɛ ɔmo wu ɔmo ho yɛmbɛnkyɛ ɔmo a yɛhyɛ ahyɛ mansa no NDC ɛtumi kɔma bie mu akyemɛ ɛkɔ ɛka ɛka sɛ ntɔfa nyinaa no si yɛka sakawa deɛ a ɛne sakawa ɛne sɛ yɛ offsite ɛwɔ ma mu nyinaa yi ɛma bɛnyɛ ɔmo ade ma de bia sɛ ɔmfa ɔde kyɛɛ no ɛno ne sakawa ne wie no yɛka wo sɛ yɛmfa nkɔ pɔntene nyina nka mfa ho sɛ tɔwirɛ de ɔso mmienu 72 hours sɛ yɛrɛ de ɔmama ɛne NDC a mɛfa kyɛ antwe ansan a ɔkyema mu ha NDC ne ɔkyema ntwa ka bia mɛda wasa
And no Chrome for the Nadia almost 72 hours prepare. You know, you if we are.
Yeah, back. Wohwɛ wɔn a wɔdi ɔman yi so a we say from this tribe to that tribe to nti yɛn mpanimfoɔ mpo a wɔn adi ɔman yi so nyinaa wɔn yɛ from different tribes na so wɔn nyinaa aba abɛso yɛ tie nyinaa no yɛ baako yɛ nya tribalism na nya ade a ɛbɛbɔ ɔman Ghana.
Na ɛwɔ dɛm wɔn nso so na yɛde nsɛm a epiem wɔ Ghanaian Times ne so ɛkɔ akɔgu pɛpɛɛpɛ yɛhwɛ ne epiem nso so ɛwɔ Daily Guide mu na yɛhyɛ ase na yɛbɛhyɛ ase ɛwɔ the front page of the Daily Guide na yɛato aso nso ɛwɔ page 3 pɛpɛɛpɛ. Front page will say, trust me, I'm truthful, Akufo Addo. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has entreated Ghanaians to continue to repose their trust in him in order to do more for the country. The most important thing is that to say that I want Ghanaians to know I didn't become president to deceive anybody. President Akufo-Addo is currently on a tour of the Bunu East and Ahafo regions as a part of his itinerary. He granted an interview to Techiman-based Classic FM yesterday in the Bunu East region. He stressed that wants the Ghanaian people to understand that Akufo-Addo is a truthful person and he is a man of his words, and so they should trust me. I will not drive the country into a ditch. On the contrary, I want to take the country to a good place.
Daily guide worker fa etoso miensa Ghana man panin na Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo achimfo PSC wode nsem atudwa obete nana gakai aha ni nsem nyina ne se Ghana fo mu njinidi munya gidie egodi mu se nana wose woye ose ade ye wose a oyo ntimomo modern a na munya ne mu gidie mfa more nhye mu no so wo mama mu embuda bia mo pe bia no wobekɔso ayɛ amam sɛ ne yɛbɛboa na ɔman kɔfo Ghana yɛbɛfem akɔyɛnim abrene abibia
na yɛde our daily guide when you ever have page 3 of the daily guide. You can copy our ideas, not our work. The penchant of the National Democratic Congress of copying ideas of the new patriotic party has been mocked by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in a speech at Bulinga in the Wa East District of the Upper West region, highlighting the latest instances of manifesto content stealing by the opposition party. Dr. Bawumia derided the practice, pointing at the recently launched manifesto of the NDC, which has largely been critiqued to contain many entries of the new patriotic parties launched earlier. The NDC had to postpone its manifesto launch on several occasions until last Monday evening, a development which many thought was to give room for the plagiarization, which is being lampooned heavily. Prominent among the stolen entries were the MPP's non-guarantor loans for tertiary students, model senior high schools in the Zongo across the countries, building of sports and recreation centers in the region, among others.
Daily guide worker and eswa na yikusu jina ne fa etoso miensa no you can copy our ideas not our works. I say you would be better upon this one, not as will be as you may or say there be mbetumi copy ideas. No mum, some will be a jumane party, a who a bay in pana, ama Obini. Obini. Or in some to ja.
Obini.
The work again.
Obini. Here, Nanya, the Mukai.
Yeah,
so and no our page says of the daily guide so for Obinim Papa. Now Obinim docket merged. The cases of controversial Pastor Daniel Obinim, founder of the International God's Way Church, and his accomplice in the matter have been merged in the prosecution. Bishop Obinim and Kwabnotri, aka Kodie Fireman, were separately put before a Kaneshi Magistrates Court in Accra and both charged with publication of false news and forgery of documents contrary to Section 159C of 29 in the 1916. Yesterday, the prosecution said it was consolidating the cases since the two, together with 4 others who were at large, are allegedly to have conspired to commit the crime. Detective Sergeant Asamoah Richard prayed the court to allow him to withdraw the case against the accused persons and make them one, and the court, presided over by Magistrate Rosemond Ejuri, granted the request and discharged the accused persons. Per the new court documents, Bishop Obinim and Kwabena Ochre, as well as the 4 others at large, are facing 4 counts of conspiracy to publish false news, conspiracy to forge other documents, publication of false news, and forgery of documents. The accused persons are allegedly to have forged and published a police person's wanted form for the arrest of one Isaac Opoku, a resident of Kumasi in the Ashanti region.
Obini. I am running to and I'm running to find it.
Na make house say my rain fi so be follow you with your social media platforms ni na Facebook and Instagram, MHTV, YouTube and Twitter, so Marveling House Limited. You may call a boy and she your global sky security. Someone is always watching and our faces in the GH schools. Mediane ama Akosomo mini aba Agyeiwaa Kodie. Say Charles Bakasi Papa bi. And I didn't use a review segments no ebrewo aba. Enchanting kind don't say do say any nine out there.
Sawa.
Abusuafo ni nyai UAE fo ne na so mo je won chia mo ji bi ache
Sa.
ai
De na abusua mu nyina anopɛ Agyeiwaa da masa bibia mo hwɛ NETV ai na mo ye chidom gidigidi tani ada ye ne dwumadi ahoro nyina abibia ebekɔso ane de so ene Ghana is watching ebeba so live ai Derek eba beka yensa wo ha say NDC People's
manifesto
yedumu nsɛm nyinaa eba betu dwanse ye be pensin mu na wo hu sɛ nea enema no esifa etie ɛha ɛna emre ɛbɛm yɛ kwan yakra